One thing that I think is really important is subtractive mixing, right? As I saw in that, you saw in that diagram I made, like you need to get out of the way for more important things, and the most important thing could shift at any time. It could shift for an entire mission, could shift for a microsecond, right? But being able to find systemic ways to do this is super important. Let me pull up my notes again. So one of these is sidechain EQ. So if you understand the concept of sidechaining, you're basically looking at source signal, the thing that you want to duck something else, and then you want that signal to duck the volume, or in some cases the EQ of a target sound. So I think that in that note, volume itself as ducking definitely works, right? Like you've all heard like the classic house techno, sidechain kick. I love that sound. And I think if you're trying to use an effect, volume as a raw way of sidechaining is very effective. But I think as we're trying to make our games more immersive and more filmic and more realistic and stuff, I think we're trying to find ways to make things as transparent as possible. Of course, there's a time and place for bold mixed moves that are in your face, but I guess generally speaking, a lot of people do prefer a pretty transparent mix. So I find that using EQ is kind of one way to make it a little more transparent than if you were just using volume by itself. So basically, with sidechain EQ, this is using Wise. I use Wise a lot, so all these examples are Wise related. I'm sorry, there's nothing that for like native Unity or Unreal Audio or Fmod because I don't have a lot of experiences there. So, but I hope you can take these examples and apply them to your preferred middleware, hopefully. So with sidechain EQ, one method you could do is you can just kind of send your desired sounds, whether it's individual sounds, whether it's an actor mixer, or even better, whether it's a whole entire bus. So I want all player weapons to be sending these signals to this bus. And on the bus level, what we're actually going to do is kind of split that up into three parts, like a low band, medium band, and a high band, for example. But on the meter bus itself, we're actually doing a bandpass plugin to be like, hey, I'm only going to meter just from this frequency to this frequency, or just the low end, just the high end, and that way you can actually duck stuff. But you don't always need to be ducking, right? A lot of games these days are very dynamic. They're not always loud and proud. There's a lot of moments that are very quiet. And I think sidechain ducking, any sort of ducking, is the most noticeable when you don't really have to duck anything. And, you're still hearing pumping. Like if you have you're hanging out, it's quiet, you hear this nice ambience of a lake, and you hear the lake ambience just getting destroyed whenever someone talks. That's kind of the situation that you definitely want to avoid. So finding a way to only duck when you have to is also really important. But yes, so one way you can do that is taking the loudness level of the thing that you want to duck and measuring, well, how loud is it right now? If it's not loud enough to where I really need to duck it, do I need to duck at all? So one of the ways you can do that is, for example, with sound effects. You can measure the overall loudness or RMS of sound effects over time, and that will actually drive the send values of the meters themselves. So when the game is really, really quiet, those meters aren't going to be getting any signal sent to them at all. But when the game is super, super loud, you're kind of getting the full thing. So I think this effect is really helpful. And then, as you can see here, once we get those 3-band, loudness levels sent back to us as RTPCs, we can then take those 3 bands we're metering and also duck those same 3 bands at our target. Maybe VO is ducking sound effects or it's ducking music. We can then use RTPCs to be like, hey, whatever we're measuring, we just want to suck out the same frequencies. So if someone is really bassy, it's going to pull more low end out of the mix. And if someone has a more high-pitched voice, maybe it won't touch low end at all, just so we're ensuring that we have the most transparent ducking possible. Quick answer, yes. So sidechain EQ, do you use the bandpass meter values instead of RTPCs and use them for ducking? Yes, I do. Yeah, bandpass first, then the meter, and then that bandpass value is basically being passed over to the CQ here. So I'm going to show you an example from God of War Ragnarok. Basically, the first video is a more quiet area. It's pretty calm. And you can kind of see on the bottom right-hand side is a screenshot of Wise that kind of shows the meter plugin and the overall RMS of the ambience. And then it will show the dialogue occurring and how much ducking is happening. And then the same thing happens. It goes to a loud area, and you can kind of see the same thing again. So this is going to be in mono, but it should be enough to get the picture. So let me know if it's sounding all right.
Gná pledged loyalty to Asgard long ago, and our friendship ended soon after.
What happened?
I made a choice. One she couldn't accept. Kratos. She hates me. She will be a problem for us. Better we find her than she finds us. Gná pledged loyalty to Asgard long ago, and our friendship ended soon after.
What happened?
I made a choice. One she couldn't accept. Kratos. She hates me. She will be a problem for us. Better we find her than she finds us.